are a lot of people who cannot even read and write. We must think of ways to help them. I just wanted to share a story with you. It was a tradition that we have to do 2 months community experiences in different areas of our nation. So I was asked to go to Orissa, and I was in Chakai. From there, the Chakai sisters used to go and teach the people in the tribal area. And it was a blessing that I too got a chance to go with her. While we were walking to that tribal area, we had to pass 2 forests. It was a very dangerous forest, but even the sister, she used to go every week to that tribal area and she used to teach them. Even the little things of cleaning the teeth, bathing, putting dress, because the people in those areas were not knowing how to be like a human. So while we were approaching the tribal area, they came to know that we are reaching there, because they used to climb over to the tree and they used to watch from far who the people are approaching to their tribal areas. So as we were going closer to them, they already gave the message to one another that sisters are coming. So before we could reach there, the people covered themselves with the clothes and so on. So they came and gathered around one place where they were usually gathered. So I was just learning. We are really educated and we are lazy to do most of the things. But these people do not know what to do for their daily life. Even the cleanliness, physical hygiene, we have to teach them. These people are called the illiterate people because they do not know what else to do or what to do for their life. And this illiteracy means not only knowing about themselves, but the person who do not know to read, do not know to behave well. All those people can come into this category. So dear ones, we are here with another story here. Here is a story that tells you about the importance of being literate. As we are going through this chapter or this story, certain questions can come into our mind. Who was Polya? What was her husband? What was his name? Why was Polya's husband unhappy? What did the husband say to his wife? What was Polya's reaction to her husband's request? Why didn't he argue with his wife? Why did Ivan bring home one day? What did Polya do with the book? So these kind of questions can come in your mind. How does the writer say that education helps the husband to get a job in government service? Polya did not feel any need of learning. Which sentence revealed this idea? Before we could enter into this story, first we shall know about the author. Mikhail Chushchenko, the famous English story writer, and about him, Caitlin will be explaining to us. We shall now listen to her.
Hello friends, it's me Caitlin here again. Today, I'm here to tell you the profile of Mikhail Chushchenko. Mikhail Chushchenko was born in 1895 in St. Petersburg, Russia. His father was an artist and mosaicist responsible for the exterior decoration of Suvorov Museum in St. Petersburg. His mother was Russian. The future writer attended the Faculty of Law at the St. Petersburg University but did not graduate due to financial problems. During World War I, Chushchenko served in the army as the field officer was wounded in action and was heavily decorated. In 1919, during Russian Civil War, he served for several months in Red Army before being discharged for health reasons. Chushchenko developed a simplified deadpan style of writing, which made him accessible to the people and mocked official demands for accessibility. And at last, he died on 1958.
We shall now come to this interesting story. Polya was an illiterate woman. She couldn't even write her name. She was an illiterate woman. We have seen who is an illiterate. She couldn't even write her name. Then we can imagine the pathetic stage she is having. Polya's husband, however, he was a responsible government official. And here the funny thing is that her husband is a government official, and this government official's wife doesn't even know to write her own name. He had once been a simple local area. And here he says that he had once been a simple peasant. He was a farmer. And being in the 5 years of life in the city had taught him a lot. Not only how to write his name, that means meaning to say that after coming to the city, he learned how to write. And he also became a government successful officer. However, he was not very happy to have an illiterate wife. Polya, you ought to at least learn how to write your name. See, with much pain, he might be sharing this idea to his wife. He used to say this to his wife, Polya, you ought to at least learn how to write your name. At least that. My last name is an easy one. You know, my last name is an easy one. 2 syllables. Only it has got 2 syllables. Kuchkin. Kuchkin. And still you can't write it. Another thing is, even though that is too small, but even that you are not able to write. I wish you would learn. I wish that you should learn. Polya used to wave it aside. There's no use in my trying to learn it now, Ivan. She would answer. She always says that how old I am now, then how can you say that to me now to learn? I'm getting old. My fingers are getting stiff. Look at this. See, these are the lame excuses, no? When teachers ask you to write the notes, you will have your own lame excuses. So here, she's so lazy here, we can say that, Polya. She doesn't want to study at all. So she says that there's no use in trying to learn it now, Ivan. She would answer, I'm getting old. My fingers are getting stiff. I can't even bend now. Why should I try to write now? Let the young ones learn how to read and write. Polya's husband was a terribly busy man and did not have time to argue with his wife. And we know that Polya's husband was a very busy man and he did not want to argue with his wife. So he kept his mouth shut, meaning to say that he did not utter any word. But one day, Ivan Nikolaevich Kuchkin did bring home a special little book. Here, Polya, he said, is the latest Teach Yourself Russian, which is based on up-to-date methods. I'm going to show you how to use it. See, Polya, I have given some special gift for you. Learn this now. Polya gave a quiet laugh. She laughed at it. Took the book in her hands, turned it over. She took the book and she turned it over. Oh, what is this? She said. And hid it in the cupboard. Then what did she do? She hid it in the cupboard. As if to say, let it be there. Maybe our grandchildren will have some use for it. Let it be there. Maybe our grandchildren will have some use of it. They might use it. One day, Polya sat down to work. She had to mend a jacket for Ivan. She wanted to mend a jacket for Ivan. The sleeve was torn. So Polya sat down at the table, took up her needle and put her hand under the jacket. She heard something rustling. That means she took the shirt. So she wanted to stitch it and there was a pocket and something was rustling there. So she wanted to know about it. In your case also it would not be another one. You too will be wanting to know what is in it. So dear ones, there are a few questions on page number 93. How did life in the city change Polya's husband? What was Polya's response when her husband asked her to learn to read and write? Do you think the book will be of any help? Explain. What do you think about Polya's attitude? Do you agree with her? Why? So we shall move on to the next part of the story. Maybe there's money in there, Polya thought. Something she was rustling, she felt. So she thinks that there will be some money. She looked inside and found a letter, but she found a letter. It was a nice clean one with a neat handwriting. And she could get one letter from there. She looked inside and found a letter. It was a nice clean one with a neat handwriting. The paper smelled of perfume. The paper had got different smell and it was in a blue envelope. Envelope, you know, where the people put the letter. The cover is called, we call it as envelope. Polya became pale. Pale means she was very upset. Was Ivan in love with another woman? She was thinking, was Ivan in love with another woman? Was he exchanging love envelope. Polya looked at the envelope, took out the letter and unfolded it. That means she opened it. But since she was illiterate, how could she read it? She was illiterate, so she couldn't read it. For the first time in her life, Polya was sorry that she had not learned how to read and write. Now she felt sorry because she didn't know how to read and write. Even though it is somebody else's letter, she thought, I have got to know what is in it. Though it is another, somebody's letter she know, but she just wanted to know what is in it. Maybe it will change my whole life. Maybe all this letter, the single letter will change my life. Maybe Ivan loves another woman. Oh, maybe Ivan loves another woman. Maybe I will have to go back to the country and work as a peasant. How many times he is telling me to study? Maybe he wants to have love with the educated women. That means I will have to go back to my own country and I will have to be like a peasant there. Polya started to cry and began thinking about how Ivan seemed to have changed lately. Then she began to brood over her husband. She was thinking about him, how Ivan seemed to have changed lately.
He seems to be taking more care of his mustache and his clothes.
Polya sat looking at the letter. She kept crying and sniffing. She was crying and brooding over that, but she could not read it at all. However it may be, but she was unable to read. To show it to someone else would be unthinkable. And if she thinks to show that letter to someone and find out what it is, and that she could not even think, because if it is from another lady's letter, then it will really harm their good name and Ivan's life. Polya hid the letter in her cupboard, finished sewing the jacket and waited for Ivan to come home. She waited. She did all her work. When he returned, Polya did not let him know that anything that had happened. She never made him know what all things had happened. On the contrary, in a calm and even voice, she told her husband that she had nothing against doing a little studying. So she told, gently she went to Ivan and told, hey, I will start to study. There is nothing against doing a little study. And that she was fed up with being an ignorant, and she said also she is fed up being an ignorant, illiterate peasant. She says that I don't want to be like this. Ivan Nikolaevich was overjoyed to hear it. He was waiting for this moment. He was overjoyed. That's just fine, he said. I myself will teach you how to read and write. So he was so happy. And there is another few questions on page 94. What made Polya conclude that her husband was in love with another woman? How did Polya react? Both the questions, kindly reflect on it and then write. Maybe you will have to write it as a paragraph. Why did she decide to learn to read and write? You know now why she is deciding now why she has to study. Why did Polya tell her husband anything about the letter? See, now we can see a lady's good nature here. In nowadays we can see people are different variety kind character. Sometimes people will get angry if the little reddish on the face of the husband, the ladies used to get angry or wife used to get angry. Where did you go? If he is little late, they will ask 101 questions about that. They might have gone for some family matters, but still the wife will be having doubt. But here we can see that Polya was quiet, decent in that nature. She was keeping quiet. She did not even tell about the matter or the letter that she found. She didn't get angry with her husband. For 2 silent months, Polya studied every day. She patiently put together the words, learned to form the letters and memorized sentences. Now, Polya is an example for many of us. During this corona time, you got so much of time at home. Even you could improve your handwriting. here the author speaks about. Some of us are like that. In the beginning we will be studying so ardently and then we become slightly lazy. She patiently put together the words, learned to form the letters and memorized the sentences. Every evening she took the treasured letter out of the cupboard. Every evening after learning the words and she is putting it together and she takes the letter from the cupboard. She took the treasured letter out of the cupboard and tried to find out its secret meaning. She just wanted to know what is in it. But it was no easy job because she didn't know how to read. It was the third month before Polya learned how to read. It was the third month. That means she is studying the letters or the words for 3 months. Polya learned how to read now. One morning when Ivan Nikolaevich had gone off to work, Polya took the letter out of the cupboard and started reading it because now she knows how to read and write. It was hard for her to understand the small handwriting, but the slight scent of perfume from the paper pushed her on because in her mind it was written by a learned lady. The letter was addressed to Ivan Nikolaevich. Dear friend, I am sending you the book I promised. I think that your wife should be able to read how to read in 2 or 3 months. So here you should learn, you should understand what the letter is. Promise me, old boy, that you will make her do it. Promise me, old boy. Meaning to say that he is quite old now. So you will make her do it. Explain to her, make her feel how disgusting it is to be an illiterate woman. So here we are learning one new word, disgusting. Take your dictionary, find out the word and find out the meaning of it. You might be thinking that I will give you the meaning of it. No, I'm just giving you that job to you. Make sure you didn't forget to teach her to read and write, Ivan Nikolaevich. She is ending her letter with the sentence, make sure you don't forget. I know that you are busy, but you don't forget to teach her how to read and write. With greetings, Maria. So the letter was written by Maria and she was really prompting him to make Polya to read and write. Polya read this letter through twice. Twice she read the letter. Then pressing her lips together sadly, she was pressing her lips sadly, that meaning to say that after reading that she was feeling so sorry and feeling somehow secretly insulted. She burst into tears. She was thinking how good Ivan is and how I have misunderstood him. So she was in bitter experience now. So there are a few more questions. What made Nikolaevich overjoyed? Describe how Polya learned to read. What did Polya do after reading the letter? Why? What do you think about the ending of the story? Discuss. Meaning to say that you have to think and write. Once as we conclude this story, there is an activity for you. Activity 1. What do you think about Polya's character? Make a brief character sketch. Justify your points with examples. There are certain hints. Innocent, illiterate, intelligent, sensible, clever, determined, sensitive, ambitious. So these are the words, hint words given for Polya. With these words, kindly write the character sketch. You have already learned how to write the character sketch. So remember and recall all the things those are necessary for to write about the character sketch and use these hints and write a better character sketch. Activity 2. Do you think Polya would have ever become literate if she had not come across Maria's letter to her husband? Why do you think so? Discuss and write. Give reasons. If you have any doubt, ask your peer group, ask your friends, clarify by yourself, then write. Third one, you have learned something about the media and communication. Not only something, you have learned a lot quite a lot about the media and communication now. Now it's time for you to think about the media lab in your school. What might the arrangements needed? Two examples are given: computers, internet. So you think what all things are necessary to begin a media lab in your school. Fourth one, as the first step you can prepare a wall newspaper. What could be included in it? So again, making a wall newspaper. You have made the newspaper. Now you have to make a wall newspaper. So what all things are necessary? What could be included in it? Editorial, article. So you just think what all things are necessary for a newspaper and make a newspaper in the chart paper. Then send the picture to me. You might be thinking what this wall newspaper is. Take a chart paper and you have seen the newspapers. We have already seen and learned about the newspaper. St. Miranda has given you the insights on newspaper. So how can you make a newspaper? You need the heading, you need the date. So I'm not going to give you the whole sort of the newspaper. Kindly take the newspaper in your hand. Just go through it and make a wall newspaper. You can also add your own school matters about your friends, about your family, anything. But make it as news report and put it in the wall newspaper.
Kindly go through this portion and it will be a great help for you.